Hi, welcome to Channel 17. I'm Megan O'Rourke, and I'm here today with Aden Haji, who has brought to us an interest in creating a story about multicultural youth voices in Vermont. Aden is currently a UVM student. He's an anthropology major, and he has started an organization called Speak Up Roosevelt Forum. So he's going to talk to us a little bit about that. Welcome,
Thank
Aden.
you.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I was so excited to see your write-up about the project that you want to do, bringing in multicultural youth voices. Tell us a little bit about you to begin with, your journey, what has brought you to where you are today.
Yeah, my family is from Africa, and we moved here in 2003. And ever since then, my whole life was just around understanding myself in this new world and trying to navigate dual identity and holding on to my traditional culture while I make myself adjust to this new lifestyle. And I have a very rich cultural and religious background, which I use it as a guide to learn more about myself and about the world around me. I've also overcame the early stages of balancing traditional cultures with westernized cultures, which had led me to be an activist for multicultural youth who are also going through the same struggles as I did. And through developing these skills, I'm now considered a community leader, which I take that into consideration and do my best to help others find their passion as well so they can be the person they want to be.
So 2003, how old were you when you came to Vermont? And when you say, I mean, Africa is a continent,
Yeah.
So where were you coming from?
I was born in Kenya, more specifically a camp called Ifo. And my family were from the Somali Bantu community, and we were one of the first waves, one of the first 200 waves of Somali Bantus to come to Vermont. So it was a historic day, and ever since then, it's just been finding ourselves here, trying to make the opportunities as the best way that we can in America.
Yeah, so you arrived in Burlington, Vermont.
Yeah.
And there's a picture of you, right, that you were surprised to see recently, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that picture.
Yeah, I was featured in a 7 Days article recently.
Yeah.
And they showed me a picture of my family when we first got off the plane in 2003. And I was surprised to see it because it has been such a long time that it was hard for me to look back and realize that this is where I came from, and here I am now doing all this work. And as a college student, I'm already busy with academics.
Yeah.
So being able to see that picture and realizing that it is reality that we came here as refugees and like making ourselves the best person we can be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said a little bit about bridging or straddling cultures, and you look back and you think about that moment. What are some highlights or examples of that you think about?
Yeah, most of it had to do with being connected with the Somali Bantu culture in Vermont, and that's really important for multicultural communities to have. Just the fact that it's hard to be able to understand a new culture without somebody that you know of that has the same similarities as you do, and who's already been through like some of the struggles that comes along with being different in this culture. And I use that. I use the strength of my Somali Bantu culture to be able to understand, like both a college student in America and having to hold on to traditional values while I'm learning a lot more about America's expectations and the different aspects that it has to bring.
Are there places that you see real clashes in values between Somali Bantu culture and what you've experienced in Vermont?
Yeah, I definitely see that one of the biggest things that I notice is the amount of community involvement that multicultural youth are getting into, and I really do admire that, and am proud community youth leader to be able to set that example, because it's really important. Just because this isn't your birthplace does not mean that you can change. Yeah, you can change. That you could have long-lasting change over here in this new world.
But you're part of the community.
Yeah, you're part of the community, and just realizing that you do matter, and you should treat your differences as uniqueness, because that's what it all comes down to at the end of the day. Just being able to understand what strength that you bring, whether it's cultural strength, linguistic strength, religious strength, anything that could help you be the best version of yourself through two worlds, basically.
In the 7 Days article, it said something, your mom said you were happy from the moment you were born, that you had a positive outlook on life, that was a particular strength of yourself. But what's helped you develop the confidence to get to do the work that you're doing?
Yeah, I've always loved talking to people, and I get that from my mom, because she's also a very social person, and that just gave me the opportunities to be able to create connections within different organizations around the Burlington area. And a lot of my confidence came from me being able to trust school teachers. I went to Burlington High School, so I had the fortunate opportunity to have a couple of teachers who really believed in who I am as a person, rather than just me going there for a grade and then leaving after. Like, they took time to be able to understand what I contributed to the class and how I could make that contribution best fit to who I am as a person, which is, I think, really important for a student's success, and being able to transition from academics into the real world. It's a really huge step. And also, I went to Castleton for a year and a half, and I had a great roommate experience with my former roommate, Casey Moon.
Okay.
And we would always just have conversations about different topics, and that's how I finally, that's like one of the reasons how I got to understand that having everyday conversation can build up your confidence in speaking in front of a large crowd, even talking to one-on-one with somebody that you know really well.
What was it about Casey Moon? What did he teach you? What was?
Yeah, he like taught me a lot about being able to being able to understand other people's perspectives when it comes to conversation, and also improvising as well, because we would have different conversations, and some of the conversations we might have like different viewpoints, but at the end of the day, like, we both knew that understanding is the most important part to having a really meaningful dialogue. But I've been using what I learned throughout my experiences and implementing them in my community organizing work. which I'm very fortunate for.
Yeah. Why, give me some reasons why that's important in Burlington from your perspective. Why is it important that people know where people are coming from, diverse perspectives?
It's important to learn about diverse perspectives because it gives you a different understanding of the topics that you guys are talking about. And usually people that come from different countries have their own expectations and their own beliefs and values within their own cultures. And then coming to America and it's just an extraordinary opportunity to be sharing like your perspectives on your culture's values and what they think of whatever topic that you guys are talking about. And whenever I have conversations with people, I love talking from it through my experiences because I feel like it's really powerful to hear from those who have gone through the experience than reading it in a book and trying to understand it for yourself. Yeah.
Well, it's like we have two different there's the America or the of laws and government, and then there's the America or the Burlington of the community, right? And in Burlington, there are a lot of different communities, people. Have you interacted? I mean, Speak Up Roosevelt Forum is a way of bringing out all those different voices and communities, right?
Yeah, for the initiative Speak Up Roosevelt Forum, my intention was just like what you were describing, just being able to understand these communities and help build bridges in the community. And it's youth-led, so, and particularly youth have a lot of links to different communities that they're from. For example, I have strong links to the Somali Bantu community, so if we're having a discussion at a surf event, then I'll be able to bring my knowledge and my experiences from the Somali Bantu community onto whatever we're talking about at that event. And I also think that it's really important just to like, even though Burlington is a small place, there are some parts where it's really diverse, and it is like it's upon us to be able to understand those communities because we're living in the same city, and everybody has an effect on how the city runs. So being able to understand the multiple cultures and perspectives that lie in Burlington is just going to help the community as a whole and help us grow as individuals, because the more you learn about other worlds, the more your perspectives broaden. And
have you felt that? Have you learned more? What, like, give an example of where you feel like you've learned something from another culture.
Yeah,
having come here. Yeah.
I also go to the Boys and Girls Club a lot, and I've been there for about 6 years now. Started as a volunteer and then moved my way up to a staff.
Yeah.
And through my experience at the Boys and Girls Club, I was able to like interact with diverse groups of youth, and those youth quickly became my friends because we're all there for similar reasons, and just to have a space for us to play and do some homework if we need to. And through my collaboration with the Boys and Girls Club, I got to understand the importance of celebrating differences, and because there was a lot of underrepresented communities that utilize the Boys and Girls Club, and I feel like one of the greatest riches of the organization is that it allows people to understand like the heart of the multiculturalism in Burlington, because I also grew up around that area too, and I noticed so many different cultures just being played out, whether it's playing basketball with each other, playing sports, recreational activities,
Yeah.
or just being able to socialize with one another, which is really important.
Yeah. So you're a UVM anthropology major, so you're beginning to understand what it is that makes up culture, what that means. And maybe for folks who think of the word culture and don't, what is culture?
Yeah.
You want to say what are some of the components that people might engage in the world in different ways?
Yeah, I would say that people have their own definition of what culture is.
Uh-huh.
And for me, I would say that culture is just about understanding that we all come from different areas of the world, and that culture gives us belonging and connectivity to a particular group.
Yeah.
And I feel like if we did take cultures away from the human sphere, it would just be just humanity as a culture. But we're fortunate enough to be able to be in different parts of the world so that we create our own expectations, our own beliefs and values, which can vary all different sorts of aspects of culture, whether it's religion, like race or class. And coming to America, you can definitely see the mixing pot of culture. And Burlington is like a great place because it's very unique and people are so accepting. And I feel like we do have a sense of culture in Burlington, but there's a lot of subcultures within it. So just understanding those subcultures and being able to find ways that we could like compare and contrast them so we could make the bigger Burlington culture as inclusive and supportive as we can to the subcultures that are represented here.
So it might be how people celebrate birthdays, how people mourn, how people marry, how people,
Yeah.
right? All of those are parts and parcels. And have you found ways that through your work with the youth, you're finding conversations about that or learning?
Yeah, I'm very fortunate because my peers are also like, they also have like the same mentality as me. Just the fact that we've gone through the early stages of trying to balance traditional culture with this Western culture.
Yeah.
We're not fully assimilated to this culture yet, and I don't think we will. Just the fact that we're so different from the majority here, and which makes us unique. But through my conversations with my peers, I see that it's important for us to continue talking about culture because that's what makes us who we are as people, and that's what is gonna determine who we're gonna become in the future, I feel like.
So what if folks are listening to this, watching you talk about the work that you're doing? So you're going to start this program, Multicultural Voices of Vermont, and do maybe a TV show, invite folks in. What else? What other kinds of work are you doing, and how can the community support you in that work or get involved?
Yeah, like I touched on earlier, there's been a growing community involvement for youth, and I feel like one of the most important things that the bigger Burlington community and Vermont as a whole could do is invest in those youth-led initiatives, and like whether it may be going to some of their events or partnering with them, so letting them know that they're not alone, that this community really needs youth-led initiatives because the youth are the leaders of today, and it's important to be able to let them know that their ideas do matter and that the Burlington is here and is supportive of whatever ideas that you guys have. Because being and especially for multicultural youth, like there's just so much cultural rich background that that it would be great to get ideas from those experiences, which will help like help this state and the city become more inclusive and more towards a collective youth plus adults plus different organizations, like to be at a place where we want to be as a city.
Your anthropology background, or what are you bringing this to? Are you bringing the work that you're doing in the community into your school work?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah, for my anthropology, I love anthropology,
Yeah.
and like I've always been interested in like cultures and being able to understand people. And as soon as I found out about anthropology, I'm like, yeah, that's the right major. That's definitely the right major for me. And just the fact that I see it more than a major, I see it more as a lifestyle, because anthropology is the study of cultures and understanding how people live with each other and the different aspects that go along with living in a culture. So I'm like learning a lot about myself and my community around me, and like different aspects of the Somali Bantu community that I could use to implement in my work as a community youth leader. And
so doing this work, you're learning more about your own culture as well.
Yeah.
Not just living your culture, you're learning. Like, talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it's been such an extraordinary experience because, for example, I took medical anthropology, which is the study of what happens when cultures collide in the hospital.
Yeah.
And like I've gone through experiences where I had to be in a hospital and just seeing the cultural differences that played out, whether it was linguistic differences or being able to understand each other. So I had to be a translator a couple times. So like that was also.
How old were you when you were doing that?
I was like 16.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing medical translation in the hospital?
Yeah.
For like your mom?
Yeah, I think it was for another family friend.
Yeah.
But it was just so cool to see that what I learned in classes were could be easily implemented in my field work as well. But I'm just so grateful for the anthropology department because they're really supportive of my work, and like everybody knows me over there and like knows what I do in the community, which is really valuable for me to like keep on going with that. So just knowing that they have my back on whatever I need, it's a great feeling to have. Yeah.
So what's next? What are you going to do? Are there more that Speak Up Roosevelt Forum events coming up?
Yeah, we have a Facebook group page for SURF, and that's where we keep all the updates.
So people could search SURF or Speak Up Roosevelt Forum, right?
And see some of the stuff that's going on. And we usually have, it's a monthly events over at the Boys and Girls Club. So we'll be able to get the word out if anybody's interested in being involved or want to come participate.
And could they send you a message if they want to find out more about it? Or?
Yeah, definitely. Send me a message.
And then do you have some people lined up that you're going to bring in to do some interviews with? Or?
Yeah, me and a couple other peers are hoping to start a youth-led initiative here, a collaboration with Channel 17, the Multicultural Youth Voices.
Yeah.
And this idea was brought upon for the need of more multicultural voices in the community, and this will be a perfect place to do it because it reaches audience that we wouldn't have been able to reach just through our regular Facebook and going through advertisement. But for the purpose of Multicultural Youth Voices Initiative, we're hoping to collaborate with different organizations like AALV, which is the African Associations Living in Vermont.
Yep.
And they do a lot of work with new Americans. So it'll be great to being able to see how the different organizations could play into this, because I feel like it's going to be a great step into making Burlington a youth, making Burlington more inclusive for youth, and especially multicultural youth who are shy about putting their voice out there. So seeing role models like me up here would give them the opportunity to think that it is possible, and whatever you set your mind to, you could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Vermont has been a refugee resettlement state for about 25 years now, 25 or 30 years. And I know growing up here, I have been so grateful for that, to see the world come to Vermont. That's the way I think of it. The world is coming to Vermont.
Yeah.
And the opportunities that you're helping to lead to make those voices, to give those voices some space so we can learn that. It's great. And so thank you very much. And thanks for coming in to talk and try this out and see what it was like to be interviewed. And good luck.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
So thanks, folks, for watching, and tune in for more episodes of Multicultural Youth Voices with Aden Haji. And that's it for now.